Happy So What Day. I hope you're having a great start to your week. And happy fall. It's really feeling like the fall weather is upon us now. I heard that there was snow in certain parts of the country as well. So nutty. It's happening. It's October, so I guess we should expect this, but it's still I guess a little shocking, the first kind of cold snap that we get. So fun and exciting, in my opinion. I love the changing of the seasons and the different colors of leaves, and it's just so beautiful out, and just a different vibe, the coziness of fall. So I hope you're all enjoying it as well. And since we are experiencing a little bit cooler weather in, most parts of the country, I thought it was appropriate to start bringing in some holiday projects. I know that we haven't even had Halloween yet. I know, calm down. But since we are sewers, quilters, crafters, we need some time to finish these projects. So we better start thinking about them now and making our must-make lists for the holidays and gathering our shopping lists and all of those good things. So before I get started with today's project, I want to also be sure to show you our latest sale, which I forgot to load the image, but here it is, 25% off in our Beat Cancer shop. If you joined a couple of weeks ago where we kind of kicked off Breast Cancer Awareness Month, I introduced some of our great thread packs that feature all the wonderful pinks and shades of pinks and things of this nature that are in our Beat Cancer shop. So if you head on over to sulky.com and navigate to our Beat Cancer shop, you will find 25% off tons of goodies. And when you purchase one of these goodies from the Beat Cancer shop, a portion of the proceeds goes to fighting breast cancer. So it's a great cause. And I apologize because I was just informed that this sale actually happens tomorrow. So now you've all been informed that that sale launches tomorrow and you can be ready for it. All right. Apologies to all involved for my mistake this morning. Let me have a little bit more coffee and then maybe I'll know what I'm doing today. All right. We all make mistakes, don't we? I'm so happy that you're all saying good morning and hello. Be sure to be commenting, giving me those great emojis, posting your questions in the live chat and in the comment section, because if you do so, you will be automatically eligible for today's giftie. One lucky person who is doing all of those things and engaging with the post today will win our Mammothly Merry Christmas machine embroidery design. It is featured on this pillow today that I'm going to walk you through so that not only do you understand how this embroidery design comes together, but you'll also get a great tutorial for making a zippered pillow cover. And you can use this pattern for tons of different sizes of pillows to display any design you want. You can even create a quilt block and make a pillow covering out of it. So this is a great zippered tutorial method. And I love a zippered pillow because we can easily remove the cover and launder it or store it and then display a new pillowcase for a different holiday or festivity. So it's a great method that we will be learning. Even if you're not into or not ready to even think about the holidays yet, you'll get a great tutorial today and you can apply it to a ton of different projects. All right, so before we get into that, is everyone aware of our next free webcast? This is happening November 8th at 2 p.m. Eastern Time. It is our holiday mug rug in the hoop webcast, and our special guest is Becky Thompson of Power Tools with Thread. She is a great friend of Julie Trieb of Designs by Juju, and they're sort of collaborating on this webcast. Julie from Designs by Juju is providing the In the Hoop mug rug design for free to anyone who purchases the kit for the holiday mug rug. Thank you, Designs by Juju. And Becky Thompson, who has done a lot of tutorials for Designs by Juju. If you are familiar with the, it's not Quilt As You Go. Sorry, I'm blanking on her end-to-end quilting designs. Thank you. Whew. Designs by Juju, end-to-end quilting designs. Becky basically taught me how to use those on her YouTube channel. She's a fantastic instructor. You will love learning from her. She's going to join us on November 8th for this tutorial and for the long format class for the holiday mug rug that you're seeing on your screen here. So be sure to register to reserve your spot. And once you do register, you'll get a couple of freebies from Designs by Juju and Becky Thompson. Becky's going to show us how to work our way through this mug rug. We'll be using poly sparkle thread for the quilting in the background of the mug rug. And then we're also going to use Sulky poly deco thread for all the embellishments in the design. This comes together, like I said, in the hoop of your embroidery machine, and also features appliques that are done in the hoop. Becky is going to show us how to use a cutting machine to import the files and to cut all of those applique fabrics so that we can easily apply them to the project accurately and with professional results. If you don't have a cutting machine, she's also going to show you how to prepare those fabrics without the use of a cutting machine. So you don't necessarily need a cutting machine for the webcast, but if you do have one, you're going to get some great education and further your knowledge with your cutting machine and get you a little bit more familiar with its capabilities. So really great information, great content for this webcast, and I hope you will register and join us in a few short weeks. Here is what the kit looks like for the holiday mug rug in the Hoop webcast. You get a ton of stuff, and the kit is already on sale. I believe it's only about $39.99 right now. Somebody correct me, because let's face it, I'm getting all kinds of things wrong this morning. But at any rate, it's at a great price. You get this wonderful fabric collection from Art Gallery Fabrics. It's called Christmas in the City, and it's a brand new fabric collection. Really, really cute prints in these teal, blue, red, and pink colorways. You also get some batting to give your mug rug a little bit of cush. You get 6 spools of Sulky thread. And like I said, one of those is the poly sparkle thread that we're going to use for quilting. The other ones are poly deco thread that are featured in the design. You'll also get a pack of needles. You also get some perfect applique that we will be using with or without that cutting machine for our appliques that go on the mug rug. And then soft and sheer stabilizer. This is what Becky and Julie from Designs by Juju like to use to build in the hoop projects. So that's what we're going to use in this kit. So all of these things you will get. That mug rug design as well comes with purchase of the kit, like I mentioned, and it comes in all different sizes. You can make a small 4x6 mug rug all the way up to a 9x12.5. That is really more like a placemat, or you could even use it as like a centerpiece on your table, or even a wall hanging because of its size. I mean, it's bigger than a sheet of paper. And with the kit, you will get enough materials to make that largest size. So if you want to make some smaller sizes, you will have plenty of fabric to play around with. All right. Stacy says, yay for kits. They are the best. All right. Thanks, Stacy. I hope you grab one up, and especially grab one up while they're on sale, because our webcast sales end the night of the webcast. And if you want to sew along with us or want to at least start your project during the webcast, you'll have everything you need if you purchase your kit ahead of time. I don't know, like let's say today, grab one up. Okay, so let's get back to our Mammothly Merry Christmas. This is a large scale design, and it was designed especially for Sulky by a woman named Jennifer Carson. and she owns a website called Fur and Feather Friends. And all of her designs are adorable animals, things with fur and feathers. And she has this wonderful, unique design style. And I think you're really going to love this really cute holiday themed woolly mammoth. So this was digitized for Sulky Filaine Thread. Our Filaine thread is a 12 weight acrylic thread that when you brush it with a wire brush, it blooms and fluffs up so you get this look of faux fur. It's absolutely perfect for this woolly mammoth. So the body of the woolly mammoth is created in that Filaine thread in lots of different colors. So you get the shading and dimension of the woolly mammoth. And there's also some 40 weight rayon thread added to the design as well. So all of those detail parts, the eyes, the toenails, the tusks, the inner ear, that's all 40 weight rayon. So that doesn't get brushed out and you get the nice detail, as well as the outline and the lettering of the designs. So you'll need a combination of the Filaine thread as well as the 40 weight rayon. And when you go to sulky.com to take a look at this machine embroidery design, the threads that you need are listed in the description of the design. So you can see some of the Filaine spools are the 435 yard spools, because as you can see, it's a large scale design, like I mentioned, and you need a lot of thread for the body of the animal. Some of the spools, I had one right here, are the 50 yard spools of Sulky Filaine thread. And those are for items or for areas like just the little shading, the tuft of the mammoth's head, and maybe the belly. I can't really remember some of the other ones. So pay attention to the description of the design to see if you need the large spool of Filaine or the smaller spool. They are all indicated by number within the embroidery design description. And then all of the rayon threads are listed there as well. So you can add those to your cart, whichever ones you need that you don't already have on hand in your Sulky slimline containers that I know all of you have hanging in your sewing space. Okay. All right. So first things first, we need to gather our supplies. Now, I know I just said some of your Filaine colors are in those larger spools, and then some you don't need very much, so you can grab up the 50 yard spool, unless you want to stock up on some of these colors for, let's say, our Peekaboo Pets design collection, which are all animals that you fluff up, and there's 3 cats and 3 dogs, or you want to stock up for maybe a lion design that you have found. The important thing is when you are doing machine embroidery with the Filaine thread, you need to be sure that the design you have chosen is digitized for heavyweight thread. If you try to substitute the Filaine thread for a lighter weight, let's say 40 weight rayon or polyester thread, the thread is going to be so thick and the stitches are going to be so compact, right, with the digitizing, that when your needle tries to sew with that thick thread, it's going to start overlapping on itself. You'll get a lot of buildup, and all of a sudden your needle is not going to be able to penetrate through all of the thickness of thread that you have created. So it's going to start breaking on you, either the needle or the thread. You might also get some bird's nest underneath with your bobbin. You never really want to use this in the bobbin unless you're doing bobbin work, because it's way too thick for your machine embroidery to handle. Now, if you're doing quilting with the Filaine, you can use it in the bobbin. It also works really great for long arm quilting. I have done a couple of quilts with the Filaine on the bottom and on the top, and they turn out beautifully, and they have sort of a vintage quality and a really, really soft feel to them. But for high-speed machine embroidery we cannot use Filaine in the bobbin. You need to use a 60 weight bobbin thread, a much, much lighter thread in the bobbin, so that it slightly pulls the Filaine thread toward the back of your project, toward the stabilizer. That's how you know you're getting a balanced stitch. If you see bobbin thread on the right side, you need to adjust your tension a little bit to make sure that it's not showing through your stitch out. So you might want to, well, it's always a good idea to test stitch your design. And by that, I don't mean you need to stitch out the entire design, because for example, this Mammothly Merry Christmas design has over 40,000 stitches. It is a lot of thread to just be testing out, right? So what you can do is load your design, advance to one of the Filaine thread colors, use the same fabric, stabilizer, needle, and thread combination for that portion of the design, and start stitching it out and seeing if you're getting a balanced stitch. This is better than testing on your final fabric or, your final project. So once you have all of that figured out, we also need to make some machine adjustments. So when you're sewing the portions that are Filaine, you will need to slow your machine as slow as it will go. You also need a larger needle to accommodate the thickness of this thread. So we recommend a size 116 needle. I like to use a top stitch needle. Now, this is really depending on the thickness of fabric, but I like to use a top stitch needle, and I also like to use a titanium top stitch needle when I'm working with the Filaine, because even though we have already adjusted the density of the design for the Filaine portions of the design, so it's open and airy, and there are not a lot of overlapping stitches, if any at all. Even though that density has been adjusted already by the digitizing process, it's still going to be rather thick for your needle to penetrate those areas where the stitches do overlap. And I find that titanium needle that is extra, extra strong does a great job with these types of heavy, thick, brushed designs. So those are kind of the adjectives to look for when you're looking for designs that might work with a heavier weight or 12 weight Filaine thread. Or in the description of the design, it will say, this is digitized for heavyweight, thick, brushed thread, such as Sulky Filaine, etc., etc. Okay, so we have decreased our machine embroidery speed as low as it will go. We have a large needle. Also, when we import the design into our embroidery machine, usually the embroidery machine asks us a few questions before we hit start, before we tell it to go. One of those questions is going to be, do you want to auto trim the jump stitches? It'll have some variation of this, and we want to turn that off. We do not want the machine to automatically pull the top thread toward the back and either knot it off or back stitch over it a little bit to start the design. This works great for lighter weight threads and allows us to have less jump stitches, less work to do when the design begins. But with Filaine, if more thick thread is pulled to the wrong side, it's going to get in the way of the subsequent stitching, and it's going to give us even more density for the needle to have to penetrate through the duration of the design. Does this make sense? Okay, so we want to turn that off, which means when we begin the design, if your machine does not already stop after a few stitches, allowing you to trim the thread tail at the beginning of the design, you will need to manually stop the machine, trim that thread tail, and then continue on each time you switch out thread colors. All right. So we have lowered the speed or decreased the speed. Using a larger needle, we've got lightweight thread in the bobbin, that's 60 weight thread. We have turned off our automatic jump thread stitches in the beginning. And the other thing to consider is, as I mentioned, portions of this design are also digitized for 40 weight thread. Notice all those colors on this picture of the supplies here. All of those beautiful colors are in this design. There's lots of shading in the lettering. There's lots of details in the face of the animal. And you're really just going to love how this stitches out. When you are embroidering the areas that are digitized for 40 weight, we're going to go back to a 90-14 or even 80-12 needle. And you can use an embroidery needle or a top stitch needle again. So be aware when the thread color changes, consult your color sequence chart and make sure, is this a Filaine thread color or is this a rayon thread color? Because you're going to need to make some adjustments when you swap out your thread color. Swap out your needle, and then for those portions of the design, you can speed up your machine a little bit if you want, or you can continue to sew at that slower speed. So just some precautions to take when you're working with the Filaine thread. It is trickier than working with your traditional 40 weight rayon or poly deco thread, but the results are so worth it. They are so fun. We're also going to need 2 different types of stabilizer here. And for this pillow, I used a plushy fleece fabric. So I need a topper. So I have Sulky-Solvy as my topper, and I'll talk about that a little bit later. And then for my stabilizer on the wrong side, or the back side of my fabric, I'm using Sulky Sticky Fabri-Solvy. This is a sticky-backed wash-away stabilizer. And the reason I'm not using Sticky Plus here, which is our sticky-back tearaway stabilizer, is because I'm using this fleece fabric that has a little bit of stretch and give to it. I don't want a tearaway stabilizer, because if I go to tear away this fleece fabric, I could distort it a little bit because I'm trying to, tear it off of this sticker. I could distort the fabric a little bit. It could make my design a little bit wonky afterwards in the removal process. So instead, I'm using the sticky-backed, water-soluble Fabri-Solvy stabilizer. And then the first time that I wash my pillow, all of that's going to wash away. I have no removal problems, and my design is going to look just as good as the day I made it. So I'm going to do hoopless embroidery just like I would with the Sticky Plus tearaway, but I'm going to do it with sticky Fabri-Solvy instead. And then I have my handy dandy curved tip squeezers that I talk about all the time, because these are what I like to use for clipping all of those jump threads. And since we are turning off our jump thread cutter, which I know is so handy, especially when you're working with this many thread color changes, we are going to be needing to clip a lot of jump threads. So have your curved tip squeezer at the ready so that you can take care of those as you move forward through the design. We don't want to get our needle caught on any portion of the design with subsequent thread changes. So we want to be sure to clip those jump threads with each thread and possible needle change as well. We also need another thread, and this is for constructing the pillow. And for that, I used 50 weight cotton thread. And I just chose a color that was comparable to my great fleece fabric. Also, we need a zipper. Notice how my zipper is just about as long as my fabric squares in this picture. You can make it even longer because we can trim it down, and we will be trimming it down anyways once we start constructing the pillow. So I think these are all the materials that we need. You may have some of these in your stash as well, but if not very much fabric. It's a relatively small pillow. I should have noted the dimensions when I got started today, because I'm sure some of you want to know how big this pillow is. Whoopsies. Let's see, it is about 11-inch square. But like I mentioned at the top of today's show, you're really learning a method here. If you want to make a pillow that's 15 inches square, if you want to make a pillow that's 8 inches square, you are just learning a method here for making a zippered pillowcase with embroidery on it. Again, you could showcase any design, hand embroidery, machine embroidery, a quilt block, and make your own pillow using the method that I'm going to teach you here today. All right. Oh, the 11-inch is a really great size for the size of design. So that's why I went with 11 inches. And if you have a pillow that, let's say your throw pillows that you have on your couch now, you can make a zippered pillowcase to cover those. Then you don't have to store all these different holiday themed pillows, right? You just create some zippered pillow covers, cover up your existing throw pillows for the holidays, and then launder them and store them until next year. All right. So here I have my sticky Fabri-Solvy. Now I am going to show you the embroidery using a magnetic hoop. If you don't have magnetic hoops, what we will do first is hoop our sticky Fabri-Solvy with the paper side facing up. Then you will score the paper within the inner hoop ring using your, where is it? Your sticky plus slitting pen. I use it all the time. I show it on almost every single Sew What episode. But I have so many projects surrounding me right now that I'm working on that I cannot seem to locate it. But at any rate, if you have watched Sew What in the past, you're very aware of what that tool looks like. I lost my little, there we go. And it's the Sticky Plus Slitting Pen. It has a very sharp tip, but it's not sharp enough to slice through the stabilizer itself. It only slices through that paper backing. So we will score the stabilizer within the inner hoop ring and then remove the paper backing to reveal the sticky adhesive side of the stabilizer. That's what you're going to have in the hoop. Then you are going to decide on your embroidery placement on the pillow. Make a little marking to denote the center cross marks, and then position it in your hoop and stick your fleece square or rectangle down over the sticky stabilizer. Then you can place your hoop onto the machine, and then we will add our layer of Solvy topper. So if you're using a magnetic hoop like I did, I removed the paper backing of my sticky Fabri-Solvy and put it directly onto my fleece fabric. Here is my little sticky dot, my Sulky placement sticker. I use these all the time. We have them at sulky.com, and you can print out an entire sheet of them onto a sheet of sticky Fabri-Solvy or a sheet of stick and stitch, and then use this as a little sticker to denote the center of your project. The sticker that you see here actually came with my magnetic hoops, but these are not really reusable as much as the ones that you can print onto sticky Fabri-Solvy. So just a little tip there. And notice, like, I just keep sticking this to the side of my machine, and then when that one loses its stickiness after like maybe 10 or 12 embroideries, then I will get a new one off of an entire sheet of label or of placement stickers and stick it to my machine so that I always have one nearby. Okay, at any rate, you will figure out where you want your embroidery on the fabric right side, and then place that in the hoop, and then you can position your needle so that it is in the center of your marked cross marks. Now, if you have a different way of determining perfect placement on your fabric, by all means, do what works for you. This is just one idea, and this is what it looks like if you're going to use a magnetic hoop. The cool thing about magnetic hoops is you can put plush fabrics, thick fabrics, quilt layers in these magnetic hoops, and you don't have to do the traditional hoopless embroidery that I just described, because we don't want to hoop a plush fabric like fleece, velvet, terry cloth, anything with a nap, because that nap can get crushed by those hoop rings, and sometimes you can't recover from it, and you get what is called hoop burn. That means you will always have this hoop outline on your fabric. It's been burnt into it. So that's why we do hoopless embroidery, where we only hoop the stabilizer, then we stick the fabric to it. In this case, with a magnetic hoop, you can hoop these plushy fabrics because you're just sticking two magnets together. You're not crushing any fibers by inserting that inner hoop. Everybody with me? Okay, so double check your placement next to your sticker or your fabric marker, or however you like to do it, or maybe you have a fancy camera on your machine and you can adjust your needle position until it's in the center of where you want it. Now we need to add our topper. And before I do so, when I'm working with a plushie or napped fabric, I like to kind of brush the nap downward and make sure it's all going in the same direction, especially something that's super plush, or even a faux fur, which yes, can be embroidered on your embroidery machine. I've tried it. I always like to brush it downward and make sure it's going in the same direction. You don't want, some of the fibers going in opposite directions. Then you add a bunch of stitching over the top, and when you're done, it looks like everything's going every which way. So you want to just brush it down lightly. And then we're going to use Sulky KK2000 temporary spray adhesive to put our Solvy topper over the top of the fabric. And I know it seems strange, but the temporary spray adhesive does not dissolve the Solvy. And we want to put a little light spray on the stabilizer, then put the stabilizer onto the fabric. Because then when we go to wash away the topper, the KK2000 disappears with the topper, instead of spraying our fabric and then putting our stabilizer on top. Okay, so, hit the microphone. All right, so I like to just tack down that stabilizer just a little bit, and the KK2000 is air soluble. So it's just going to dissipate in the air after about 48 hours or so. But like I said, also, when you wash away your Solvy, it's going to wash away with the Solvy. All right. So after our topper, I also like to do a baste in the hoop function on my machine when I'm using a topper with certain fabrics. Sometimes I will forego this, especially if I find that the topper is nice and secure simply with the KK2000, and as soon as the design starts, it's going to be tacked down anyways. Now I do want to mention that with this magnetic hoop, I could have hooped my topper with the rest of my fabric as well. However, since I wanted to show this demo to people who may not have magnetic hoops, I wanted to show you that you can simply add it after your fabric is on top of that sticky stabilizer using a little bit of KK2000. So if you do have a magnetic hoop, you can also hoop put your Solvy on top of your fabric and then put your top magnet in place. Okay. Here is my basting in the hoop, and I basted around the design perimeter. So you want to be aware of what fabric you're using when you do the baste in the hoop function. You want to be sure that those needle holes are not going to be permanent on your fabric. I like to do a baste in the hoop with a plushy fabric like a fleece or terry cloth because it really just flattens everything out. It's going to make sure my nap is going down. And everything is nice and flat for the stitch out. I don't have anything coming up around the edges while my machine and needle are moving every which way. So a baste in the hoop, then we're going to start the design. So remember, after the baste in the hoop, we're going to slow everything way down. We're going to do all those precautions for working with the Filaine thread. You can see that the lettering stitches out first along the lower edge of the animal, and that is in all those different shading colors of the rayon thread. So first you're going to start off with your 90-14 or 80-12 needle and your rayon thread and work your way through those portions of the design. Then it's going to go toward the animal. And I wanted to show you this because you can see how open and airy those underlay stitches are. In a design that's digitized for 40 weight thread, which most designs are, your underlay stitching is going to be much denser than you see here. So this is how we know that our heavyweight thread is going to work with this design, because our underlay is has a lot of space between stitching rows. That's going to leave room for all of the layers of Filaine that we are about to add to the design. Okay, so once your design is complete, and I will say, I said this has a lot of stitches to it. It's large in scale. You can see, maybe I can get this a little, here, I'm just going to fill the screen with this picture so you can see how long those stitches are that are made with the Filaine against how tight the stitches are that are done in the 40 weight rayon. So the ear of this mammoth is done in 40 weight rayon. Look how close together those stitches are compared to the beard and, the trunk of the mammoth. Those are really long stitches. They're almost like long and short stitches if you were doing this by hand. So now we are going to take this out of the hoop, or you can actually leave it in your hoop if you want to have a little bit of stability during the brushing process. And we are going to go to town with the Sulky wire brush, the Filaine wire brush. So take it over to the animal and start brushing it out. Do not remove the Solvy until the animal is brushed to your liking, because we don't want our Filaine brush to hit our fleece fabric and fluff that up or ruin that part of our fabric. So you want to be sure to leave that Solvy in place and brush the design. You can brush downward, then upward, then side to side. And the more you brush, the fluffier it's going to get. You do want to be sure that you're not snagging those thread loops, because as I mentioned, they're quite long. Some of the stitches are, quite long just to accommodate the thickness of the thread. So you want to be sure not to snag those on any bristles of that wire brush. So one direction, then another direction, then you can even go side to side. I have even kind of gone in an area and gone around in a circle, like a tight circle, while the brush is hitting the thread, just to kind of fluff it out and really make the thread start to bloom. Oh, here I am just getting a little bit closer shot. I was wondering if I included that. All right, so here you can see our fluffed up woolly mammoth. Let's see how big I can get this for you. Is this neat or what? I just absolutely love it. And again, the more you brush this out, the fluffier he's going to get. And here you can see the tusks, the ears, the eyes, the holly around the mammoth's head. Those are all 40 weight rayon. So you really get the details of those, even though you're brushing out the rest of the design. And with all of those thread colors, it really looks like shading and dimension on the animal. And it has just turned out so neat. Okay, and I know we have had some questions coming in. I will address those momentarily before we get to the actual pillow tutorial. So after you have it brushed to your liking, you can go ahead and remove those bits of topper. Now, I left little bits inside, the lettering and things like this, because I know that I'm going to wash my pillow cover as soon as I'm done constructing it, which is going to get rid of any excess Solvy stabilizer, as well as any excess Fabri-Solvy that's on the wrong side. So I'm actually leaving my entire sheet of Fabri-Solvy along the backside of that fabric, as well as these little bits of Solvy on the right side. I'm just leaving those intact throughout the entire pillow construction. And then I know the first time I go to launder it, all of that's going to wash away. So you can kind of take little bits of shortcuts right there. Okay, I am going to go ahead and answer some questions, and then we will put this pillow together. Just going to hopefully save my spot over here with my pictures. Okay. Jerry says, the thread brushed out looks so realistic and makes me want to pet it. I'm afraid I would just hold it and pet it all the time. I know, it's very fun and really fun to pair it with another like fluffy, cuddly fabric like this fleece, but it would also look really cool on denim. It would look really great on a stocking, even on just some canvas fabric or some quilted fabric. You could put it on a stocking and it would be so, so cute hanging up on your mantle. Okay. Since it is a different color, could you just skip that color? I'm afraid I don't know what you're talking about, because probably this came in while I was speaking. So if you can clarify what you mean by, since what is a different color, and we'll go from there. Okay. If you do not have a baste in the hoop function, could you take the hoop to the sewing machine and do it? In that case, I would probably baste the Solvy to the fleece first. Then I would put my fleece on the sticky stabilizer. Well, that's not, yeah, because we're really just basting the Solvy, making sure that it's not going to go anywhere. So I would baste the Solvy to the fleece on the sewing machine, then add the fleece to my hooped sticky stabilizer. And that way, all 3 layers are kind of stuck together, not going to go anywhere. I think that's what I would do. Okay. Are the recommended needle sizes noted in the stitch out directions? That's a great question. I can't remember if they're noted within the stitch out, but they are on our blog post. So if you want the full instructions for what I'm sharing with you today, the dimensions of the pillow, everything, so you don't have to take notes, everything is on the blog at blog.sulky.com. I also link directly to that blog post tutorial in the description of today's So What. So if you're not seeing the whole description, be sure to hit that See More button on the lower right side of your screen, and then the whole description is going to pop out. You'll see links to everything I'm talking about today, including a full link for the pillow tutorial, and it talks about the needle sizes to match up with the thread weights and thicknesses that we're using today. Okay, I'm going to get my ugly lint roller out of the shot. Always have that lint roller on hand. Is everyone with me? You never know when you're going to need it. All right, using that KK2000 all the time. Love it. All right, really love the magnetic hoops. No burn marks. Exactly. Linda's got 3 slitting pens. She's ready for all kinds of hoopless embroidery. All right, zippered pillowcases are the way to go. I've been doing that for years. All right, so since we're talking about the zippered pillowcase, let's go ahead and find my spot, which I have completely lost. So I apologize. Let me find out where I am here. Okay, so removing the topper. And like I said, you can leave little bits here and there if you want to, because we also need to get rid of our sticky Fabri-Solvy on the wrong side. And that's all going to come away with water as well. So if you want to leave some little bits here and there of the Solvy, knowing that you're going to wash it, don't worry about those. Otherwise, you can take a wet Q-tip or cotton swab, kind of run it along those pesky areas, and it will dissolve with your cotton swab. Okay. So now we're going to add our zipper. So we're going to place that zipper along the lower edge of our pillow. And you can see my zipper is a little bit longer than my pillow square. And that's great because we're going to come in a little bit beyond those corners when we sew that zipper in. And so our zipper ends are going to be kind of hidden inside of the pillow, and we can trim some of those off as well if we want. So make sure your zipper is just slightly longer than that lower edge to give yourself some room to groove. And what I like to do, especially when working with a plushy fabric, is use some double-sided basting tape to place my zipper along that lower edge. Pins are just not very reliable for this kind of application. You can try using some Clover Wonder clips. Those are great tools, but I happen to love the double-sided basting tape for plushy fabrics with a zipper. It is just so much easier to sew. So I've placed some double-sided basting tape along the edge that is going to be facing the right side of my pillow fabric. And then I'm going to stick that in place. So you remove the paper backing and stick that in place along the lower edge of your pillow. Then we're going to take it over to our sewing machine. Notice that I have a zipper foot installed. I have moved my needle over to the left so that I can get it close to my zipper. And then you can simply just sew down that edge to sort of baste it in place along that lower edge. Actually, we've already basted it with tape, so now we're actually sewing it. My bad. Okay, sew it in place along that edge, and then we are going to apply it to the opposite or the pillow back. So you will fold your zipper out so that right sides are facing up, and then we're going to put our pillow back, that rectangle, over the top of this layer, matching up that zipper lower edge with the lower edge of our pillow back. And again, some double-sided basting tape, and you're going to sew that edge as well. Then you can align all four edges of your fleece pillow, and your zipper will kind of, well, your zipper is a lower edge, and then you can align your upper edge and sides. And you can use some Wonder clips to make sure that those don't go anywhere. Sorry, I think these were kind of out of order. Here is my zipper attached to the front and back. Important thing here is you need to open up your zipper a little beyond halfway. That's how we're going to turn this right side out when our zipper stitching or when our pillow stitching is complete. So before we sew the rest of the perimeter of the pillow, be sure to open up your zipper a little bit farther than halfway. All right. So now we're going to sew the perimeter of our pillow, and I like to stop and start. Maybe you can see it here. I like to stop and start about 2 inches in from our zipper ends along the lower edge. So I'm going to start 2 inches in, go around my pillow, and then end 2 inches in. And you want to be sure that your zipper ends are out of the way of the stitching when you do this part. And that is going to kind of hide our zipper ends within the layers. And then we can come in and trim those off. But before we do that, now that our zipper pull is along the lower edge and it's open a little bit, we are going to taper the corners of our pillow ever so slightly. And you can do this a number of ways. I decided to use this handy curved ruler that I have to kind of curve my edges, which kind of rounded the edges of my pillow. or you can just taper them in slightly so that when you turn it right side out, your pillow actually looks square. This is how you prevent getting those kind of dog ears on the corners of your pillow by either tapering them or curving them ever so slightly. So I marked all 4 corners and then sewed along that mark and then trimmed along that mark. So now I have some curved edges of my pillow, and you can kind of trim your seam allowances a little bit as well if you want to, or simply leave them since it's such a plushy fabric. So now here is my finished pillowcase. You can go ahead and zip it up, check it out, and then insert your pillow form or your existing throw pillow, or even stuff it with fiber fill that you then plan to remove when you're going to launder the pillowcase. And there it is, our finished pillow. Okay. All right. Since I got today's sale wrong, I'm now aware of what today's sale really is, and I'm so sorry that I got it wrong. Free shipping. Everybody loves some free shipping. Am I right? I think it deserves a round of applause. All right, I apologize for that, but now you all know what to expect for the sale tomorrow, and that's fantastic. All right, does anyone have any questions about the project here? I will go through them here. Yes, taper the corners like a witch's hat. Love it. My corners are more kind of rounded than tapered, so you can do either one. But this is really a great method for making any kind of zippered pillowcase. You simply insert that zipper along the lower edge. You can even do it along a side edge, but since we display our pillows like this, you can't even see or tell that there is a zipper there at all because it's along that lower edge. So it's a great way to make a zippered pillowcase using just about any fabric. And then at this point, before you add your pillow form or pillow stuffing, like I said, you can launder it and then let it dry, fluff up your little mammoth, and all of your water-soluble stabilizer will be gone. And then you can gift it or simply display it for the holidays. So I know some other people had great ideas for using this design for other things, and I absolutely love that. Like I said, it would look great on a stocking. You would need a rather wide stocking. I'm going to go ahead and measure him because I cannot remember, or her, it can be a her. It is about 5 3/4 by 8 or so. About 6 by 8 finished dimensions on the design. I'm being generous with those dimensions, so really cute. Mary Ellen says, could use this as a pajama bag for a child. They stuff their PJs in it and put it on the bed in lieu of a pillow. Love that idea. So cute. Jill is asking, do you have the thread as a kit? We don't have the thread as a kit. Right now, the only thing that's available for this is the machine embroidery design itself, which also happens to be our giveaway for one lucky viewer who is watching, commenting, sharing, all of those good things with today's post. So if you do those things, you will automatically be eligible to win this design. It retails for $8.99. It's a really, really big design. And like Mary Ellen said, you can use it for a lot of different things for the holidays. This would make a really cool wall hanging, or even an advent calendar type wall hanging. It would be so cute as the focal point, as the center. And then you could sew some little pockets to stuff little goodies in around this little guy. So lots of different ways you can decorate with this design and gift it to some friends. Bernie says, how about a sweatshirt or t-shirt to put the design on? That is a great idea. It's very, very stitch heavy, like I said. So I would think a sweatshirt is probably going to be just a better vehicle for holding all of those stitches, but you could certainly try it on a t-shirt with the right amount of stabilization. You're going to want a cutaway stabilizer so that it remains with the design throughout washing and wearing and all of those good things. Maybe even a fusible cutaway stabilizer, depending on the weight of your t-shirt. So I would definitely start off with a thicker or more heavyweight t-shirt material, or like you said, a sweatshirt. Super cute. Absolutely love it. It would look really cute on the back too. Even the back of a jacket. I love designs on a back of a jean jacket. I think they're so adorable. You know, a Santa sack. So cute. Lots of different things. All right. Let's see if there's more questions. I got distracted because my office is in my basement, and I think a fox just walked over my egress window. So that was a little distracting. And my window is like right above my camera where I'm doing this. So that was a little shocking for a second there. Sorry. Lots of distractions happening for me today. Okay, back to the questions. Where do we sign up for the drawing? Says Aurora. Well, all you have to do is comment, share, like this post. Whether you're on YouTube, watching on Facebook, watching on Twitch, you need to engage with the post in some way. So simply by adding that comment, you are, oh my gosh, there it is again. There it is again. Fox encounter. Okay, simply by adding that comment, you are eligible to win the design. So I usually give about 24 hours or so before I pick a winner, and then you'll hear from me directly. So if you start hearing from weird bots that are pretending to be sulky, ignore that, because that happens sometimes. All right. So many tips that you can use on other projects. Thank you, Janice. That's kind of the idea behind So What here. We get to come together and kind of pool our ideas and come up with lots of different interpretations of these projects. You know, we also have a private Facebook group. It's called Sulky Stitch and Post. And if you join that group, that is a great place to post pictures of your projects, talk to other sewers, talk directly to our Sulky support staff, ask questions. It's a really fun, safe place for you to kind of come together as our Sulky community. And we do some special deals and offers for those folks on our Stitch and Post page as well. So that's a great place to join, to add your tips and tricks and show us the pictures of designs like these that you have made your own and, you know, taken in a different direction. Because that's kind of what sewing is all about, right? We get to put our own spin on things and make something truly unique that is totally for us. That's one of the reasons why a lot of us sew, is for that personalization and to get something that we don't see in the stores. You know, there's so many different reasons why people sew, and it's a great segue into telling you all about our podcast. Who out there has listened to any of our podcast episodes yet? Give me a thumbs up if you've listened. You can listen on any podcast app that you get your podcasts on. Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify. Our podcasts are also on our education platform. So when you go over and sign up for our Holiday Mug Rug in the Hoop webcast with Becky Thompson of Power Tools with Thread, you will see in our offerings page, you can also head on over and listen to our podcast right then and there once you have an account at sewingonline.sulky.com. So if you want to give it a listen, we talk to sewers of all walks of life, quilters, embroiderers, crafters, so many interesting people. And interestingly enough, our podcast is called Why I Sew. So we really dive into these reasons and motivations for why people got into sewing in the first place, what keeps them sewing, where do they get their inspiration, and why they're doing it. And while a lot of the themes or certain comments seem similar, there's some really, really great stories, and I think you will all be inspired by them. So I really encourage you to listen to our podcast and tell us what you think. And if you have an interesting story about why you sew, also on our website at sulky.com, you can submit your story about why you sew, and you could potentially be a guest on our podcast in the future, which is really fun. We love to hear from you. All right. I like a Q-tip to remove stabilizer. It's really handy. Sometimes you have to really saturate the Q-tip and just run it along the outside of your stitches, and then that stabilizer will just lift away. And then you don't have to submerge or agitate or wait too long to get rid of those little stabilizer bits. So it's a great tip. Okay, Linda says, my mom always installed the zippers on pillow backs. She added a couple inches to the back and installed the zipper prior to construction. Great idea as well. I like to do it along the lower edge just because my kids tend to kind of use and abuse pillows. And I can just see it now with their, the zipper imprint on the side of their face. But it's entirely up to you where you want to install your zipper. Okay. Everyone talking about my fox sighting. That was exciting. I mean, a fox this close to my house. I do have mountains right on the other side of the street in front of me. I'm right at the foothills, so it's not that uncommon, but I have never seen a fox walk across my egress window, the covering. That was pretty great. It's stalking you. Oh. Thank you. And Linda says, a fox would be a cute brushed design. Well, Linda, we happen to have a fox design that you can use to test out your filaine. Make sure you have your machine modifications all correct and ready to go. On our free projects page at sulky.com is a really cute little fox. So you can try that out and download it today. Kathy says, I wish we could see the fox. I know. Sorry. Okay. Great project and wonderful help. Thank you so much. What is the design size? Is it small enough for a child sweatshirt? So yeah, it's about 6 by 8. It's rather large. So depending on the child, it might take up that whole sweatshirt, but certainly give it a measure and try it out. You could also resize the design ever so slightly, not beyond 20%, but make sure that when you resize the design, if you're using your machine screen, make sure that the number of stitches also decreases when you reduce the design size. Sometimes with certain machines, if you reduce the design size, the number of stitches stays the same. And that is going to mean that your stitches just got smaller. And we don't want our stitches with that heavyweight thread to get any smaller than they already are, because we could have some density issues, thread breakage, needle breakage, bobbin problems, like I mentioned earlier in the episode today. So be aware of those things if you do decide to resize the design. Okay. My dentist gave me her used tools, which I use to remove stabilizer. Interesting, Doris. I've never heard of this before. But hey, if it works for you, thank you for sharing. All right, I think I'm caught up on all the questions. If you have a question that I did not address, be sure to reach out to us at info@sulky.com, or you can post your questions here in the live chat or in the comments section, and we will try to get back to you there too. You can also direct message us through Facebook, or post your questions on our Facebook group, Sulky Stitch and Post, and we will get back to you there as well. Make sure you are all registered and all set for the holiday mug rug in the hoop with Becky Thompson, November 8th, 2 p.m. Eastern Time at sewingonline.sulky.com, and grab up your kit so you can get it at that fantastic price. Again, it is already on sale, and if you grab it now, it is sure to be shipped to you if you live in the United States in time for the webcast. Now, it's not a traditional sew-along, but sometimes it is helpful to have those materials in front of you while you are watching the webcast. All right, lots of you saying you're registered and ready to go. Fantastic. Grab up that Mammothly Merry Christmas design and show us your stitches over at Sulky Stitch and Post. And I hope you have an awesome day, and I'll see you next Tuesday for another So What.